I have a question for you. Do you want to start sleeping with the lights on? If so, I got you. The most horrifying found footage that will leave you shaking while I take fear factor to a whole new level. First up, we have the infamous Dybbuk Box. You might have heard of this story before, but for those who haven't, let me fill you in. As the story goes, a Dybbuk Box appeared in 2003 when antique store owner Kevin Mannis bought a vintage wine box from a 103-year-old Holocaust survivor on eBay. After a strange string of unexplained hauntings, reoccurring nightmares, bruises, and smells of ammonia, the box found its way back onto eBay and landed in the hands of a man named Jason Haxton. Now, he too felt the wrath of the box and ended up burying it somewhere in Missouri, but not before pulling it out of the ground to appear on the television show Ghost Adventures. Haxton had paid $280 for the box, and when opened, contained a goblet, 2 locks of hair tied with string, pennies from the 1920s, a dried rosebud, a cast iron candlestick holder, and a granite statue engraved with Hebrew letters. Haxton said that he didn't believe the stories associated with the box and didn't have any worries when opening it. He heard strange noises though, moving objects, and unexplained events that will send chills down your spine. Well, at least it did mine. The cabinet was described as a wine cabinet to him. Jason reported that he would start hearing these strange noises coming from the cabinet, such as like knocking sounds and whispers. He also claimed to have seen very, shadowy figures lurking around the cabinet, and even reported feeling the presence in the room with him. As the strange occurrences continued, Jason began to research, the history of the cabinet. He discovered that it had once belonged to a Jewish family who had immigrated to the United States from Poland. The family had reportedly used the cabinet to store their belongings, but had also used it as a makeshift altar. Now, Jason became convinced that the cabinet was haunted, and according to the legend, a Dybbuk is a spirit that is created when a person passes in a state of great emotional turmoil, such as sadness or anger. The spirit is said to be trapped between the world of the living and the afterlife, and is often drawn to objects or places that hold a lot of sentimental value. As the occurrences continued, Jason decided to seek out the help of a rabbi who specialized in Jewish mysticism. Now, the rabbi performed a ritual to cleanse the cabinet of the Dybbuk, but it didn't work apparently. Jason eventually became so convinced that the cabinet was just way too haunted and decided to sell it. It definitely wouldn't have taken me that long. It would have been gone night one, but I guess he really loved the cabinet. However, despite trying to sell it, he soon discovered it wasn't easy to get rid of. Several people who had purchased the cabinet from him reported experiencing the same occurrences, including nightmares, noises, even physical attacks. Once Jason did get rid of it, it was actually purchased by another collector who then chose to remain anonymous. That collector reported experiencing strange things as well. Apparently, the two at one point had actually gotten together to discuss their experiences with the box and shared stories. And, he helped actually Jason track down the family that originally had the box. But what makes this story even more terrifying is that, again, these are real people. Jason wrote a book about it, which, went on to sell a lot of copies, and it is, of course, one of the most haunted books that exists. Today, the Dybbuk Box is actually said to be in the possession of the anonymous collector, who has reportedly taken whatever steps necessary to just protect himself and his family from the evil spirit. However, the legend of the Dybbuk Box continues to captivate people around the world. It may remain, convinced that it is indeed haunted, and Jason's story has been the subject of much debate and speculation. Now, there's also footage on YouTube, though, of a man named Joseph Mazzaferro opening a Dybbuk Box at 3 a.m. It's frightening. I had my eyes half shut the whole time. You can hear something speaking back to him. I won't ruin it for you, but go look for it for yourself and let me know what you think. Next up, we have the NoEnd House story. This one's a bit more recent, and it's based on a very popular internet urban legend. The story goes that a man named Brian Russell explored an abandoned house with a strange layout where, each room seemed to shift and change. It's framed as a lengthy first-person account of, a trip through this really weird, twisted house. It's a haunted attraction that boosts a series of scarier and scarier interior rooms. But the twist, which isn't really a spoiler given that, the TV show uses it to cap off the first episode, is that the person telling the story might not have ever even left the house. The footage shows Brian navigating the house, but what starts as a curious exploration, quickly turns into a desperate fight for survival. But here's the thing, this footage is allegedly real, and Brian Russell is a real person. He's a filmmaker who actually created the footage as part of a project. But the way it's presented makes it seem like it's actual found footage. So there's a lot of speculation over that. And let me tell you, it is seriously unsettling. Now I know some of you might be thinking, but wait, isn't found footage just a bunch of shaky cameras and fake scares? And to that I say, not always. Sometimes found footage can be genuinely terrifying, especially when it's based on real events. Next, we have the Phoenix Lights incident in 1997. Thousands of people in Phoenix, Arizona reported seeing a massive V-shaped UFO in the sky. The footage shows a strange glowing object hovering above the city, and it's genuinely chilling. But what makes this story even more fascinating is that the footage is real and it was captured by multiple people on different cameras. It's one of the most well-documented UFO sightings in history, and it's still unexplained to this very day. On March 13th, 1997, two formations of lights were sighted in the skies over the valley and other parts of Arizona. One was shaped like a V and cruised across the sky, while the other was a series of glowing orbs that appeared in a line near the Sierra Estrella mountain range. The two incidents became known just as the Phoenix Lights, one of the largest and best known UFO sightings in history. Now, thousands of people across Arizona witnessed this phenomenon, which caused, a kind of hullabaloo in the media over the next few months that grew into a worldwide obsession. Despite the public, searching for answers about what caused, the Phoenix Lights, both at the time and over, the ensuing decades, no official investigation has ever actually occurred. Several explanations were put forth to explain the mysterious lights, ranging from helicopters to camera lens flares. But of course, the favorite explanation was a spacecraft. Did we finally have good video proof that mankind is being visited by aliens? Well, who knows? Others ones weren't so sure though, and suggested that the bright lights resembled nighttime skydivers with flares. To some, this explanation seemed even more outlandish than, extraterrestrial, spacecrafts flying by to watch, a high school football game. I mean, what would skydivers be doing with flares in the night sky though? And if they were skydivers and had done this before, why wouldn't people have known about it or even recognized it? Was it, a prank or a hoax? As the story got more and more, publicity, a helicopter pilot for Fox Channel 10, actually, his name was Rick Krabs, he went on air and basically told what he knew, and apparently he knew a lot. Now, which of these stories freaked you out the most? Let me know your thoughts. Thank you for watching. I'm your host, Ashley. Until next time, stay scared. From haunted asylums to ghost towns and beaches, let's dive into these abandoned places filled with dark history and unexplained phenomena, and explore the reasons even the bravest experts might refuse to visit. First up, the Danvers State Hospital in Massachusetts. Now, this abandoned asylum was built in the 19th century and was notorious for its inhumane treatment of patients. The hospital was closed in 1992, but its dark history remains. Experts refused to enter the hospital due to reports of paranormal activity, including ghostly apparitions and unexplained noises. The Denver State Hospital, also known as the Colorado State Hospital, was a psychiatric hospital located in Colorado. Now, the hospital was established in 1890 and operated until its closure in 1974. It was actually built in 1874 and didn't open until 4 years later in 1878.